History was made on the ice as figure skaters Anastasia Mediokina and Luka Berulava snatched Georgia's first ever Winter Olympic hardware. This silver in the pairs competition at the 2026 Games isn't just a win. It is the country's inaugural medal in the sport of figure skating. The duo racked up a massive 221.75 points across 2 performances. But the real drama unfolded off the ice, where European and 3-time Russian champion Dmitry Kozlovsky, partner to Alexandra Boykova, absolutely tore into the scoring of the Japanese pair's free skate in Italy. The judges handed Miura and Kihara a record-shattering 158.13 points. That score obliterated the world record held by Russians Anastasia Mashina and Alexander Galyamov, a benchmark that had stood untouched for nearly 4 years. Kozlovsky wasn't having it. No, listen, I have to say it, this is just way too much. 158 points for that free skate is absolutely exorbitant for this pair. They simply do not skate at that level. Are we seriously suggesting that 4 years ago, legends like Sui and Han would have lost to them, even with a quadruple twist in their arsenal? No, that is complete negligence on the part of the judges. And handing out scores like that is straight up disgraceful and, frankly, tactless toward the athletes waiting to take the ice right now. Kozlovsky fumed on Oko's sport. Meanwhile, the Olympic pairs battle finally reached its climax. The second-to-last individual showdown in Milan has wrapped up, and it was a heartbreaker. Germany's Minerva Fabienne Hasse and Nikita Volodin led the pack after the short program, but when they hit the ice for the final routine, errors crept in, and that precious lead evaporated. The German duo walks away from Milan with bronze. Meanwhile, Anastasia, Mediokina, and Luka Berulava locked down second place after the short. Pavel Sliusarenko's protégés have etched their names in history, securing the very first Olympic figure skating medal for Team Georgia. But the night belonged to Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara. The Japanese stars became Olympic champions, adding pairs gold to a national cabinet that previously only held singles titles. With a jaw-dropping free skate, they shattered the world record once owned by Russians Anastasia Mashina and Alexander Galyamov. The pairs tournament at the 2026 Olympics might have felt empty without the Russian powerhouse. Yet one duo made their presence felt from afar. Before the free skate, Boykova dropped a reel on social media, showing her and Kozlovsky's grind this season, hammering away at elite elements. Her caption hit hard. First, you pour years of your life into a single goal. You grind. You fail and try again 1,000 times. You prove to yourself and the world that you are worthy of that dream. And then, finally, you sit back and watch others achieve it. The video ended with a shot of Alexandra sitting with her laptop, streaming the 2026 Games. I think that was Ilia Malinin on the screen. Simultaneously, Kozlovsky was live in the Oko studio, breaking down the decisive moments with Ekaterina Bobrova. The Olympic cycle leaders, Japan's Miura and Kihara, were up in the penultimate group. A botched lift in the short had dragged them down to 5th. But they rallied in the free skate. And man, did they rally, delivering a performance that the judges rewarded with 158.13 points, a new world record. The old benchmark of 157.46, set by our own Mashina and Galyamov back in 2022, was dust. Galyamov seems pretty chill about it. Kozlovsky? Not so much. He was livid at the Japanese scores. Here is his fiery monologue. Well, what is there to say? The athletes put on a solid performance for themselves. The elements were clean. But let's get real. Let's get to the point. I do not see a level 3 twist there. Their side-by-side jump? Sure. It starts miles apart. Then they drift closer. Overall, pretty parallel. Executed well enough. The throws. Again, my partner lands beautifully, but I don't get why she can't hold the landing, show it off a bit. Her speed and confidence should allow for that. The only other thing I have to highlight, and this is crucial, is the simplicity of the lifts. In terms of transitions, flow, and overall skating, this is a very, very basic program. When we're at training camps discussing prep with coaches, choreographers, judges, and the federation, the feedback is always the same. Guys, you need complex programs with intricate transitions to score high. So, what gives? Does that rule not apply here? Look, the pair just banked 80 points for technique. They are racking up massive numbers. However, in my view, they should have been dinged in the details. We remember the greats who broke the 150 barrier. Crossing 150 is a massive milestone reserved for the absolute elite. I see a partner who is smooth, very graceful, but when I look at the guy, I see zero lines, none. We judge the pair as a unit. We can't just judge the girl and say, she's skating, he's not, so here's a 9.5. It doesn't work like that. I see he has decent skating skills for a pairs guy, but his lines are non-existent, and they are about to get a sky-high second mark, probably around 155 again. No, Ekaterina, I'm telling you, this is just too much. A 158 for that free skate is completely exorbitant for this couple. They simply do not skate for those scores. What's the message here? That 4 years ago, Sui and Han would have lost to this with a quad twist in their arsenal? No, that is totally frivolous behavior from the panel. Giving them scores like that is absolutely shameful and tactless to the athletes stepping on the ice next. What is happening? Should we just end the tournament now? There is no way the Japanese duo deserves a higher bonus for their flip throw than the Chinese team. Those were completely different beasts in terms of volume, scale, and entry. The judges were highly motivated, very motivated, to push these scores, but I think they went overboard. That performance clinched Olympic gold for Japan. They didn't just erase a 7-point gap to leaders Haas and Volodin. They put 10 points or more on everyone. Their clean skate was key, but so were the meltdowns from their rivals. All 4 pairs skating after them faltered. Would Kozlovsky, the skater, have stopped this Japanese surge? We can only speculate. But if Dmitry had been sitting on that judging panel, Miura and Kihara would have faced a much rockier road to the top. Coach Rafael Arutyunyan weighed in on American phenom Ilia Malinin's rough outing at the 2026 Games. Malinin crashed in the free skate, ending up 8th, while Kazakhstan's Mikhail Shaidorov took the crown. Everyone on Team Malinin needs to stop accepting pity and openly admit the mistakes made. Ilia is not to blame for anything, and I have told him that straight up. We, the adults, are the ones at fault here. We failed to protect a very young man from stumbling. For various reasons, I can't say more right now, though Ilia and I covered a lot of ground in private. I just hope this helps him stay in the sport and find joy in it again, Arutyunyan said. Meanwhile, Russian skater Petr Gumennik had his own take on the Milan judging, where he finished 6th. Back home, people say you deserved better scores. What's your take? I've noticed at international events, judges aren't just scoring the skate in front of them, they're scoring your resume. Your ranking, your history, your consistency, your style. You saw it in ice dance. Guillaume Cizeron could make mistakes and still win on pure mastery. I don't think it's entirely fair, but I was ready for it. In sports, it'd be cooler to judge the moment in isolation. Though I guess the argument that your entire preparation history is being judged has some merit. That way, the true winner is the one who truly earned it, Gumennik noted. Russian ace Petr Gumennik and American star Ilia Malinin shared ice for a training session in Milan. They were joined by Azerbaijan's Vladimir Litvintsev and the US's Andrew Torgashev. After practice, I watched and cheered for Adelia. Then I hit the Milan Cathedral and booked a spot on the balcony, Gumennik shared. Women's figure skating has been Russia's ace in the hole at recent Olympics. This time, the nation's solitary hope rests on Ilia Petrosyan. But the most crucial season for the country's top skater has also morphed into the most grueling. How did Ilia gear up for the biggest showdown of her life? Last season, Petrosyan was already dreaming of Olympic glory long before news of her eligibility broke, before qualifiers, before securing her ticket to Milan. Hope is always there. But I think we'll have to grind it out in isolation for a bit longer. It's fate, I guess, Ilia said back in November 2025, blissfully unaware the ISU would find a twisty loophole to let the team in. It seemed the moment had finally arrived. Petrosyan's track record is spotless. Her last failure to win gold, excluding team and jumping events, dates back to December 2022. She took 5th at nationals then, and 4th after Kamila Valieva's disqualification reshuffled the deck. Since then, she's been absolutely unstoppable, a complete sweep. When it came to the Olympic bid, Ilia wasn't just a choice. She was the only choice. But mapping out a strategy this far in advance, similar to how Italy locked in their contender a full year early, is a dangerous game. The odds of a disaster striking are alarmingly high. In fact, the cracks started showing back in the spring when Petrosyan suffered a groin injury. A misdiagnosis led her to push through training while getting treated, only for the reality to hit later. The damage was severe, and she needed total rest. Once we realized the extent of the damage, the medical opinions were all over the map, Atteri revealed. Some urged her to hang up her skates for good. Others prescribed 3 months in a cast. Then, there was one doctor who just shrugged and said, "What is the issue? I can get her competition ready." Atteri recalled in the Oko series the Tutberidze method. And true to form, Ilia showed up at the September qualifiers, though she was fresh off a long hiatus. The massive Ultra-C jumps were off the table, leaving Petrosyan to scrape a victory with a modest 209.63. She took the gold without her trademark arsenal. But right after that Beijing qualifier, the ISU slammed the door shut again, returning to isolation tactics. The Federation clearly went overboard with their restrictions, granting skaters entry only for qualification. Meanwhile, in speed skating and short track fellow ISU disciplines, our athletes were given the green light for the World Cup and World Tour. Even in cross-country skiing, neutral athletes faced 0 caps on their participation. Yet figure skaters were psychologically tortured, dangled the carrot of competition, only to be barred from everything until the actual Olympics. Malinin Gumennik and Petrosyan returned to the domestic circuit bearing the same heavy title, Olympic participants. However, the weight of expectation on their shoulders was vastly different. Gumennik's 6th-place finish in Milan feels entirely respectable, especially considering he missed the podium by a razor-thin margin. Petr certainly carried the pressure, but he made it look easy, sharpening his routine, charming the press, and cracking jokes about tactics. Ilia, on the other hand, is being crushed by the weight of it all. She carries this responsibility not like a flag of honor, but like a heavy cross to bear. And the figure skating establishment, along with everyone else, isn't doing her any favors in lightening that load. Natalia Bestemianova didn't mince words. Petrosyan absolutely must deliver a flawless performance, so there is 0 room for nitpicking. That is the only way she walks in and takes the Olympics. Ekaterina Bobrova added fuel to the fire. Petrosyan is our sole hope for a top 3 finish. Alexander Julin chimed in, "I believe Petrosyan will recover her technical arsenal by the Games and stand as a primary challenger for the gold." Even 2-time Olympic gymnastics legend Lydia Ivanova piled on. "I want Petrosyan to win it all. I refuse to even entertain the thought of 2nd place." Ilya Averbuk agreed. Everyone needs to set their sights on the summit. Ilia is absolutely capable of becoming an Olympic champion. Brian Joubert noted, "Snagging Olympic gold is brutal, but Petrosyan has the talent for it." Hockey pro Dmitry Salanchiev added, "She is a phenomenal athlete and a fierce competitor for the top spot." Everywhere she turns, Petrosyan is bombarded with the expectation of victory. It is hardly shocking that the lock screen on her phone displays the gold medal for the 2026 Games. Now that the qualification hurdle is cleared, the frantic race to restore her Ultra-C elements has officially begun. To bridge the scoring gap with the Japanese and American skaters, Ilia desperately needs high tariff elements. This is crucial since she'll likely start in the first warm-up group with no world ranking, exactly what happened to Gumennik. In past seasons, she commanded a triple axel alongside a quad loop, flip, and toe loop. Her stability was hit or miss, and many of those jumps were eventually scrapped. Yet, Tutberidze has 0 intention of walking into the Olympic arena with a watered-down program. "Competing at the Olympics without Ultra-C elements makes absolutely no sense," she declared. Right now, that confidence just isn't there. Petrosyan sat out the January competitions, unlike Gumennik, who used the Street Petersburg event as a warm-up for Milan. Worse still, the physical pain had returned for Ilia, and it was taking a heavy toll on her mental state. "I get incredibly worked up during practice," she admitted. "When things go south, I tear myself apart. There are just so many variables. The road to the Games is anything but a smooth ride." However, there is one perspective from Tutberidze that offers a glimmer of hope. It is as if the road to the Olympics is not supposed to be easy. Looking back, nobody had a cakewalk. Only one athlete breezed through an easy season, and that did not end well. Valieva had a smooth run where everything went to plan. Zagitova, on the other hand, had legs that were absolutely destroyed. Zhenya Medvedeva and Sasha Trusova both dragged themselves to the Olympics on stress fractures. Sherbakova battled a brutal case of pneumonia and COVID. She ran a fever of 102.4 degrees for 6 months and could barely stand. It seemed like everyone paid a price, except for that one case. I don't know, maybe the struggle is a prerequisite for greatness? You have to maintain a positive mindset. We are enduring these trials now so that everything falls into place later. We just need to survive it. That roster of battered champions serves as the ultimate reminder. The world demands gold not just from Petrosyan, but from the Tutberidze brand itself. It is a machine that hasn't misfired at recent games, largely because Eteri always had a stable of stars ready to go. But when you are down to a single shot, the pressure intensifies for everyone, especially the skater and the coach. Even Tutberidze sounded uncharacteristically guarded back in January. We changed the sport at one point. Maybe those girls were just anomalies, extraordinary talents. Naturally, we wanted to showcase their potential. We pulled it out of them and put it on display. Now, we are burdened with living up to that legacy. I completely reject the notion that I am used to my athletes always winning gold. No, every journey is different. People expect a certain result, but the reality on the ground is incredibly difficult. Tutberidze remains a strategist of immense wisdom and experience. Regardless of the tactical moves she makes, she consistently finds a way to come out on top. Perhaps her philosophy that suffering equals success will prove true one more time.